Welcome to the Purple Jaguar. Now, this is a podcast for the little people. The little people who want to hear about their sports team and their sports town. The fringe teams like the Jaguars, the Titans, the Jets, the Giants, teams that don't get very much broadcast. Also, with other topics built in, NBA somewhat, some college, but mostly NFL. So, initial reactions to yesterday. Good teams played good. And what I mean by that is the Lions took care of business handily. Let's see here. The Giants handled the Colts. One of the best Giants wins of the year, I'd have to say. Complete game by Daniel Jones, who I'm considering a poor man's Josh Allen, the way he's playing. And then for our surprises. So I had the Panthers picked to beat the Buccaneers. That was a surprise to me. But Tom Brady played out of his mind. He went to the Fountain of Youth, pulled a 400-yard game out of him. He played very well. Found Mike Evans for the first time all year, it seems like. Some other surprises. The Chiefs almost lose to the Broncos. Now, full disclosure, I'm from Kansas City. I am a Chiefs fan. And that was a hard game to watch. Not a lot of confidence leaving that game. But we got the dub, and that's all that matters. Surprises. The Saints pull off the upset against the Eagles, the number one team in the league. Now, the Eagles are starting a back quarterback. They recently lost Lane Johnson, which they are actually now 3-11 when Lane Johnson does not play in recent years, obviously. And with Lane Johnson out and Jalen Hurts injuring that throwing shoulder, it's going to be interesting moving forward to see how well the Eagles can make a playoff push. But with that being said, probably the game of the day ended up being the 49ers and the Raiders. You see that Raiders backup quarterback? Man, he was slinging it. Jarrett Stidham, I think is how you say it. Man, he was slinging the ball around. 365 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. That's going to happen. He's been a backup all year long. He's starting now because they've pretty much asked Derek Carr to leave the facility. So he will be the starter next week against the Chiefs. And if he's throwing the ball like that, Chiefs might be in trouble. Also, one thing to note, what are the Commanders doing? What are the Washington Commanders doing? You sit there and you take out Taylor Heineke, who has at least given your team a burst, and you put in Carson Wentz. You're reaching. Let's see Wentz's stats. Wentz went 16 for 28, 143 yards, and 3 picks. Now, I've only been watching football my entire life. Used to play football back in high school, but that's not good. I don't think anybody will think that's good. And I don't know why they did that. I don't know why you would take Taylor Heineke out and start Carson Wentz in that spot. And that's what you deserve. Another heartbreaking thing to see is the Jets could not put it together in any form or fashion. And this is just indicative of the Jets' entire season. The New York Jets, who have been switching out quarterbacks here and there, have been trying to make Zach Wilson a number 2 overall pick. They've been trying to gratify that or hope that he comes into his own. There's been turmoil in the locker room. Earlier in the year, the players were mad in a sense at Wilson and then supporting Mike White. Mike White gets hurt. Wilson has to come back and play. And it's not good. And then Mike White comes back in, is reinserted. I don't know if his injury might have inhibited him from being able to throw the ball as accurately as he would have liked to. But it was a very, very lackluster and upsetting performance for the Jets, who you would think would be more competitive with the playoffs on the line. As a matter of fact, the Jets had almost a clear path outside of the Patriots needing to lose next week against the Buffalo Bills had they won. But they weren't able to get it done. The Eagles won pretty handily, got off to a hot start, the Eagles did, and Mike White threw the ball to the wrong team. So that's pretty much that game. Moving on, the Vikings. I think it's time to just say they're pretenders. You don't go 11-0 in one-score games. You don't have a negative point differential and say you're a good team. You can't do it. Yes, they can beat the Washington Commanders of the world. They can beat the New York Giants of the world if they have to in a non-primetime game. They can play close or play competitive games against the Lions. But when you put them up against a team, a playoff team, a legit playoff team, or previous playoff team in the Green Bay Packers, they just seem to fold. Justin Jefferson shrunk. He absolutely shrunk. There was news in the media, the cornerback for the Packers, Jaguar Alexander. Now, when he was re-signed, he was the highest paid corner ever. And he is pretty much held up to that standard all year long this year. He was able to rack up 5 interceptions prior to this game, and he ran his mouth a little bit. And typically, not a smart move when you're playing arguably the best wide receiver in the league. He's going to find a way to get open. And the game they played prior, he did. But as of yesterday, he had 1 reception for 15 yards. And I think Jaguar Alexander earned his contract on that game alone. Now, with that being said, let's talk about these Dolphins and the utter collapse of this team. Now, I like Mike McDaniels personally. I think he's kind of funny. He's got this techie vibe, like this cryptocurrency, this Napa Valley, very futuristic kind of like vibe of a head coach in the NFL. He seems like he's a smart guy. And they got the talent, on offense at least. I wrote an article over the weekend about Alabama, the Crimson Tide, and their football organization led by Nick Saban. Now, in this article, I made the argument that if you were to plug in Bryce Young right now into that Miami Dolphins offense, I think he would run it more effectively than Tua Tagovailoa. And the argument being Bryce Young has more attributes. He can run the ball. He can manipulate the pocket. He can hit spots. He's got a good arm. He's got a good arm, strong arm. Now, he is short. He's undersized for a quarterback. But other than that, he plays kind of like the newer version of Jalen Hurts, where he'll use his legs if he needs to, but that's not going to be his first option. And I like Bryce Young. But with that being said, in recent memory, we've had Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa come out of Alabama. And they came out as high draft picks. I know for Tua, he was number 5 overall pick. And they inserted him they put them on teams. Mac Jones going to New England and Tua going to the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins did have a rough year. There was some speculation of them tanking. Brian Flores got fired. They got Mike McDaniels. But they went out and got Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. They have Mike Gesicki at tight end, which is in my opinion, top 10 tight end in the league. They have two speed running backs. They can both catch the ball out of the backfield. They can get you over 100 yards rushing if you need them to. And it seems like Tua is not it. We already know back is not it. Up in New England, they're wanting Zappy to play. They don't want to see Mac Jones. Can Mac Jones make a throw or two? Yeah, sure. He can. But too many times yesterday watching that game, I watched Mac Jones throw a ball at the feet of a wide receiver that was, if not wide open, fairly open. And these are his check downs he's doing this to. He's already been classified as one of the dirtiest players in the NFL, Mac Jones. He likes to yell. He gets super intense. He gets frustrated. They blame the offense up there. They lost Josh McDaniels to the Raiders, and he, fantastic offensive coordinator for him. And so they've had some issues with that. But these are two quarterbacks that came out of Alabama and their football program. And so, again, like I said, I wrote an article, and this article kind of detailed the talent that these two quarterbacks had to play with on Tua Tagovailoa's team at Alabama, where he threw for 87 touchdowns in 2 years. And it was, broke the record. He set the record. He had, catching the ball for him, Jerry Jeudy, as well as Najee Harris coming out of the backfield. He also had Jalen Waddle, who he's currently playing with on the Miami Dolphins, and multiple other names that I could rattle off to you. Literally, their corners were Patrick Surtain II and Trayvon Diggs. That's who the cornerbacks were, just the cornerbacks. So I've been this thing. When we evaluate quarterbacks coming out of college, I think it's time to start looking at the intangibles, the build, if you will, the arm strength, the ability to play under duress. I would argue that I would take a quarterback off of a Big 10 or Big 12 team that may have struggled against SEC competition, but has the intangibles. Because when we keep taking these Alabama quarterbacks year after year and inserting them into NFL teams and not taking into consideration that Alabama creates NFL players across the board, from the defensive line to the offensive line, from the receivers to the cornerbacks. So you're evaluating these kids, Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, from their performance on subsequently an all-star team. They play with an all-star team. I mean, if you go back a few years, you take those players, they are all big parts of NFL teams now. Najee Harris, big part of an NFL team. Jalen Waddle, probably top 25 receivers in the league. I mean, the defense. And so we need to get back to analyzing the intangibles. The finding the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes of the world. Patrick Mahomes played at Texas Tech, for example. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look it up right now, but let's see where Josh Allen played. See where he played his college ball at, Josh Allen. Josh Allen played the University of Wyoming. Those are the top two quarterbacks right now. Came out of the University of Wyoming, Texas Tech. Now, Joe Burrow can be an exception. I will say this. Joe Burrow played at LSU. He played with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. But Joe Burrow is the NFL's version of Kobe Bryant, where if you look at Joe Burrow and Tom Brady, it looks like when you looked at Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. The games are very similar. They can make all the throws. They are very calm under pressure, and they seem to get better as the game goes on. Joe Burrow can take a sack. He's got the intangibles. He's got that it factor. He can make the throws. So I think we're not talking about Joe Burrow in any sentence with Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa. But when we're looking at Alabama quarterbacks specifically, I think we need to be very careful with how we evaluate them moving forward. Now, I think Bryce Young does have good talent. I don't think he's a number one quarterback. I don't think he should be drafted number one. But the NFL is a league that loves quarterbacks. Can't never get enough quarterbacks. And, there's going to be a team that takes a shot because they need a quarterback, and there's not going to be that many good ones available. With that being said, let's talk about the teams that need a quarterback. So I posted a tweet yesterday, and if you would like, you can go to Twitter at Nebula719M and follow me. I do live tweeting during football games, big games. Once football season's over, we'll probably transition to basketball and other sporting events. But for now, it's just going to be during football games. But I made a tweet yesterday. And what I said was, we have a couple of teams that are a quarterback away, in my opinion. And if they go out and get themselves a quarterback, I believe that they have the structure to make a deep playoff run. I think these teams are legit contenders with the addition of a quarterback. Now, these teams are the New York Jets, for starters, need a quarterback. It was painful to watch what happened to the Jets yesterday. And it's been happening all season. They lost a game to Mac Jones and the Patriots. Hear me out. They lost a game to Mac Jones and the Patriots on a punt return in which the score was 3-3 up until the final seconds of the fourth quarter. They have arguably the best rookie out of last year's draft in Sauce Gardner. They have an outstanding wide receiver out of Garrett Wilson. They have a very good rookie running back that unfortunately did get hurt, but before that he was set to have an explosive, probably going to be the rookie of the year. And to watch them have the carousel of quarterbacks this year was just painful. And knowing how hungry these Jets fans are to finally overcome the Patriots. Now they have to deal with the Bills. Miami's not bad. The AFC East is arguably the best division in football. Now, record-wise, you would say the NFC East is. But I say the AFC East. Arguably. I would take those teams against the NFC. And so for the Jets to be competitive, they need to go get them a quarterback. Now, I would highly recommend staying away from Derek Carr. And here's why. Derek Carr is very streaky. in my opinion. He's a very streaky quarterback. Now, can make all the throws. Has a winning mentality. But very emotional. And I think New York would eat him up alive. You know, there's been multiple times where he's in an interview or at the podium and he's visibly crying. And I just don't know if he has thick enough skin to, in the middle of a slump, be able to take the media that New York has. So I would avoid Derek Carr. Now, let's say you can't get a quarterback. Then I would highly recommend you watch a lot of San Francisco football. I would highly recommend it. Because San Francisco has figured out a way to be able to insert quarterbacks. When I say quarterbacks, I mean, I don't know if they'd be good on another team. I don't know if Brock Purdy's competitive on another NFL team. But the Kyle Shanahan offense can insert a quarterback and give them success. And I think that there needs to be teams that start looking at this and applying it to their team. Because right now, there's two ways to win in this league. There is an outstanding quarterback, top 5, top 10 quarterback. And a top 5 quarterback is the only way you're going to be a contender each and every year. Top 5 being Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those type of players. Or you have a Kyle Shanahan offense. And I should add Justin Herbert. Chargers are going to be dangerous in these playoffs. Now, if you don't think that you're going to be able to get one of these guys, or you don't think that the Derek Carr is going to play good, like look at the Broncos, Russell Wilson. They're stuck. They are stuck. Now, he had a good game yesterday. That's because the Chiefs' defense, it's not even the Chiefs' defense fault. Actually, it's the special teams turnovers, things like that. Very emotional game for the Broncos, whatever. But they're stuck in that contract for the foreseeable future. So I think unless you have a surefire top 10 to 15 quarterback that you can go after, I think you need to start looking at other ways to run an offense. Because what happened to the Jets yesterday it made my stomach hurt. I was a little ill watching that. So pretty much this is a new thing that I'm starting. I'm the Purple Jaguar. I will be bringing you my reaction to sports 3 to 4 times a week, I would say. I would love to hear from you. Like I said, you could follow me at Twitter. It's at Nebula719M. Tweet me a topic you want to hear about. Also, we'll be posting this on my YouTube channel, Nebula Media. That's Nebula with 2 L's. So if you want to check this out, if you want to hear more, if you want to throw some topics at me, if you want to talk shop, I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for listening.